Okay, everyone. Looks like we may be live. Yeah, I think I've got it all set up now. Okay. Hello, everyone. I've switched around a few things since our last stream. So maybe we've got a little better quality on the content that you can see. I have some other ideas of things I want to do in the studio and what I want to move around. So when the next stream happens, you probably will see something uh, different once again. But anyway, this looks pretty good for now. I had done a few things earlier in the studio. I had to run out and take care of some errands. Where I live, it's supposed to be kind of some rough winter weather tomorrow. And while what we receive here is nothing compared to what some people will receive, it's all very exciting and grocery stores get hit. But before I get started, I want to say that it's really heartbreaking what we're seeing coming out of the Los Angeles area of California. So if anyone has any friends or loved ones in that area, I'm really sending my love out to them and their support. It's very sad. So we're keeping everyone in our prayers, of course. Anyway, let's get started. So I've got some things set up around here. If anyone pops into the channel, or you're watching this later as a VOD, please shoot me a message, leave a comment, and I'm always happy to answer any questions. I've had a few people leave comments on our previous live streams, which I'm very thankful that you guys are watching those. It's a little strange for me that we're recording these live and then they're on the channel until I delete them indefinitely, but I don't want to delete them necessarily, but it's a little strange that they are that people are still watching those, because it was a live content, and a lot of the things were not the best quality, as you guys have probably seen if you're watching any of those. So I apologize for the quality. I'm trying to make things better because I really enjoy doing this, where I'm painting and I'm talking and you guys can ask questions. I love educating others and I love sharing what I know. I think that this community that we're building, it only gets better whenever we are sharing what we know with one another and helping it to grow. So that is what we're doing here, and I really appreciate you guys for being here and being a part of this. So anyway, let's get started. So where we left off the other day, it was the first day of the it was the first day that we were working on this painting. We did a we did a drawing prior to the stream, and then I started on the rabbit, just kind of blocking things in terms of color and basic form, using some paints that would dry a little faster. They were using some of my lead-based paints that I tend to enjoy for drying effects. But anyway, this is where we are now. The painting, for the most part, is dry, with maybe a few exceptions of a few areas that may have been a little thicker than others. But otherwise, I think we're looking really good, and I'm excited to get back into it. So it looks like my brightness might be a little high, or maybe it's my gamma. Let me see. Maybe gamma. I'm going to change a couple things here real quick, so maybe it doesn't feel quite as blown out. That looks pretty good to me, actually. Really happy with this new look, but I want to change it around in my studio, and I might do that tomorrow, but the day was getting a little ahead of me, and I've been desperate to get on this painting today, and also to spend some time with you guys, so I thought that now's the time to do this. Anyway, let me grab my source image. As I've said in my previous streams, I prefer to work from life. You get a better, accurate. You all get a better, accurate image when you're looking at life. Because we get so many things that are distorted on a camera lens or on a computer screen or something like that. But I do like the convenience of a digital image whenever we are using something like an iPad or computer screen, mainly because we can zoom in and pan around. I mean, my eyes aren't that great, and sometimes I'm using objects that are on the small side, so it really helps for me to be able to zoom in and see things a little easier and move it around to get it the way I want. Source image up here that I'm going to work from, and we're good to go. Got my light turned up all the way. Okay, cool. And my paints that are on the palette, for the most part, are probably good to go from yesterday. What day was that? That was Tuesday. But I've got a few other colors here that I might have to add to the palette. So I have a spot of tea before I get started. And snap on the gloves. All right. Anyone there has any questions, just let me know as we get started. But as I'm working, but I think we are ready to go. So I think where we left off on the last stream was I was saying how I wasn't so sure about the ball chain that was on the keychain and this little element that was at the top of the Lucky Rabbit's foot. This is a vintage rabbit's foot. You can kind of see it there on the side of your stream, but the metal is just a little too chrome for me, a little too shiny. So I might actually change that as we move forward. That's easy to do with some glazing and things like that. We'll get into that a little later. Right now, what I think I want to do is build up a little bit more with the rabbit's foot at first. I think that's where I am now. This is all dry from our other day of painting, and I want to just build on that. Our medium that we're going to use today is linseed oil. We primarily used turpentine the other day, and then we also used a mixture of Ralph Meyer's glazing medium. But today, linseed oil is what I want to use. So a lot of these paints, I think I told you the other stream, but just to repeat, they're kind of quick drying paints. So some of these are actually like maybe a little too dry, a little too chunky. I like when a paint dries. I think I told you in the last stream, like as a paint is drying, to me it's a wonderful step because it's like it starts to get kind of gummy, and you kind of can pull it and slide it along, which I kind of like. But so when it's drying on your palette, it's really nice because you can use it in that effect. You guys have probably seen some artists like Nelson Shanks. He's no longer living, unfortunately, but if you see some images of his, he has this palette of colors laid out, and there's actually like little mountains of color, and that's because he can actually take the paint and like tear at it a little bit, because it might be dry on the top, but on the inside it's still wet. And as it's drying, it really is kind of a good consistency that a lot of artists may like, myself included. That was making some noise under there. But the problem is it can get a little there can be bits of paint that are dry that get caught up into your painting, and I don't like that. So whenever a paint is starting to dry too much and there's these little like dry skims of paint. I have to try to rectify that. I do not want that to end up in my painting. So anyway, right now what I'm doing is I'm mixing up a little bit of Viridian and this cobalt teal turquoise. This cobalt, excuse me, it's not cobalt teal, it's cobalt turquoise light from Old Holland. It's a great color. And that is kind of in line with some of what I want. But I'm going to put a little bit of yellow ochre, which I don't have on my palette. Put a little yellow ochre down and mix it into that. And I think I'm also going to take a little bit of this. This was a mixture of paint that we had from our last painting session, which is essentially unbleached titanium and warm white by Michael Harding. So I'm going to mix a little bit of that into this turquoise mixture, and it's going to kind of give us that it's kind of like a yellowy turquoise appearance that you can see. It's green, but almost a little bit more in the blue family, and I kind of like that. So, as I've told you before in my streams, I like to work in the middle often. As we're working in our middle values, it allows us to push shadow and push highlights from there, and it can be an easy way to build your form. Find the brush I want to use. Think that what I'm going to use is a number 2 or 3 filbert. This is a Rosemary Company brush. That's actually exactly what I want. Linseed oil and hit our mixture here. When we left the painting the other day, we kind of were essentially just blocking color into the various forms that we had established. That we got a lot of information in, of course, in a short period of time, and we let it dry. And now we can build upon that, give it more interest, more light on the painting. Get a little bit more information into the painting here, more layering, color. I'm just going to put a little bit of information in this lucky rabbit's foot, and then we're going to move around and do some more work on the painting. I can stream about maybe another hour and a half or so, so I want to see how much I can get done in this period of time. But anyone that's here in the channel, if you have any questions, feel free to throw any out. Delighted to help explain a little bit more about what I'm doing, or just answer any questions. But thank you for being here. This part where the rabbit's foot kind of meets that crimp, we painted that in on our last painting session. And remember, I was saying you kind of want to work back to front in a lot of ways, because there might be something that you need to cover up a little bit or soften as you're going close to it. So this crimp metal part, this crimp area, is actually it's like behind a little bit of tufted fur. So we want to be able to kind of give that its appearance of something soft kind of coming in front of it. So that's what we're establishing there pretty easily. I can see that there's more areas as I look at my source image and all with the rabbit's foot that's like more yellow. There's actually some, what I'm probably going to do is grab some transparent red oxide or transparent yellow oxide and just kind of hit that in a few places. But for now, I'm just wanting to hit some areas. I'm kind of squinting a little. I don't have to squint too hard. Eyes are pretty weak. Anyway, I'm just hitting a little bit of a few areas just to kind of build up what I'm seeing. Then I want to hop around. I'm going to set that there. I'm going to grab another brush. I'm going to save that one. A lot of times the brush that you use is pretty important. It can give you the mark that you want, depending on the softness of the brush hair and the coarseness. I've primarily been using bristle brushes on the on everything except the metal part. I was using a softer sable at that time. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I switched over to a number 2 flat bristle brush still. I'm going to use the same greenish turquoise mixture that I have, but I'm going to darken it. So I'm going to add a little bit more Viridian back to it with a touch of this ultramarine blue. And I'm going to add a little bit of transparent red oxide. That may have dried from the other day. That transparent red oxide that I use is a wonderful paint that dries pretty fast, actually. I always find it helpful just to use as few colors as possible to mix up what you need. If you start using too many colors to mix up what you're trying to target, it can get a little complicated and actually can get muddy. It can get away from you pretty fast. So again, I'm using that initial mixture and kind of blending into it and out of it at the moment. This the bristle brush is great because the brush hairs on it are actually pretty well, they're coarse obviously, and they're a little splayed, so I can kind of use that to my benefit to paint the effect of the hairs of the rabbit's foot. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys in this area. I can use the brush hairs and kind of move in the direction of the let me see if I can make that a little bit more legible for you. That might be about as good as I can get it. Still trying to upgrade things in this stream, so please bear with me. But anyway, I'm just trying to go in the direction of the hair on the rabbit's foot that I can see. Again, I'm using the same mixture with this turquoise, Viridian, and a little transparent red oxide, transparent yellow oxide even, just to kind of keep it in a similar relationship what's already established. And if you're able to see, I'm not going all the way up to the edge of the rabbit's foot, the right edge, our right, that is. And the reason is there's actually a little bit of reflected light on that side from our light source that's bouncing around off of the surface on which the sorry, trying to focus and my words are getting lost. The surface on which the rabbit's foot is pinned. So there's like a little light that's being caught on the edge over there and reflected back. That happens a lot of times on a round object. Light will actually kind of come around the object. Even on the shadow side, a little light is there. Got a little stray mark of paint, so I also have a cat. One of the easiest ways for me to deal with any sort of stray mark in paint is a kneaded eraser. Tried a lot of different things, and that just seems to be one of the easiest ways. Just keep the kneaded eraser on hand. It's great for just marking out or shaping an area. Come on, baby. Camera. Come on, don't do that. Get up there, right there. Okay, I'm going to use that sort of shadow color that we've had and blend it back into our base color, just to kind of get a lighter area. What I'd like to get is another camera if I'm going to continue to use my paint book so you guys can see my palette really well and what I'm doing really well. We'll figure out the best way to get this to look right. Nice. Nice. Come here. That was dangerous. We're reaching towards our dark mixture. Try not to think too much about what we're doing right now. I'm just using the paint and just trying to match some color values, essentially. Yes, ma'am. Okay, pretty good. Now this is a wonderful flat brush, so this is going to give us kind of an edge in which we can control. And I like that idea for this reflected light that we see on the right-hand side of the rabbit's foot here. What I'm seeing is it's pretty yellow in that area. It's kind of a little dingy that the light's picking up on. I know, you don't want me to work, you want me to play, come on. And to help me paint that a little better, what I'm going to do is flip my panel. I can do that easily, and that'll help me use my brush to get a little closer to the area that I want. As I'm fighting a cat, I stuck my knuckle into some alizarin crimson. We definitely don't want that to get away from us. Let me zoom in just a little bit since I got that. It's still not exactly that what I want you guys to see, but it helps. It's better than it was. You don't need to see the palette quite now. Can't see the cat though. That's what she's mad about. Using the bristle brush to help me make some marks that go along with the fur in this area. Use a little bit more yellow ochre actually. Small stick fail. I'm gonna blame it on the cat in my lap. Yeah, slightly different color. There. Goodness gracious. All right. Fighting with the cat is not helping the stream. So as I was telling you guys earlier, with a stray mark a lot of times like this is heated eraser does wonders. And that background isn't anything that is finished yet. We're going to correct that as we move forward. But it's actually going to be kind of a weathered looking element, so stray marks are fine. But we want to be able to control what marks we put down. me know if anyone has any questions out there. I'm always happy to answer. Zoom in again so you guys can see this a little better. It's got a good shape to it. I like this a lot where it's going. A little bit more of our turquoise. This area here gets a little lost against the edge of this wall, which is really nice. But it just needs a little bit more information. So I'm gonna hit that real quick. And the same here. Yeah, that's nice. I kind of want to get into the shadow just to give that some more definition at the moment. So let's do that. I'm going to flip the panel back just to help ourselves out a little bit more. Heavily furred by my cat. Goodness. I used to try to keep them out of the studio, but that did not work. If any of you guys have cats, probably understand how that goes. All right, let me zoom back out so you can see a little bit of the work I'm doing on the palette. So now I want to mix up a bit of the shadow color again. Last time we worked on this, I used something that was just a general color. We're still going to use something that's sort of a general color again, but by looking at the color and the source image, we can understand a little bit more about it. You know, it's kind of got a little bit of a green cast to it because of the reflected light from the rabbit's foot, and while at the same time it's kind of in this umber family. So what I'm going to use right now is I've got a little bit of this olive green Winsor Newton color, which I really have grown to love. It's actually pretty transparent, and it's very useful for a lot of things, and that kind of gets us in the neighborhood of where I want to be. But I have my shadow mixture on my palette here that I always keep in this location, that I always mix up at the beginning of every painting session, and it's a mixture of ultramarine blue and transparent red oxide. I'm going to add that to this mixture of olive green, and that gives me a really nice shadow color that I think will work here. If you're ever painting something kind of like this, where you have an object on a surface and it's casting a shadow, and you're curious what that shadow color looks like, how do you mix it? Like, one way you can tell is actually take your hand or an object and just put in front of your painting. Okay, so I'm going to put something in front of this, and you'll see the shadow being cast on that color on your canvas or panel, and that will then help you understand realistically what that color should be like. Now, I'm going to change the color of this background, so it's not as important. This is just kind of a placeholder that is close to what I might want. So I'm going to target what I have right now, which I like. Anyway, just a little information for you guys. I'm going to use this same number 2 flat bristle brush. Just rinsing it off briefly, and then we'll work into that shadow area. T first. Okay. Anyway, let me know if anyone there has any questions. Happy to answer any. It's important to keep your shadow colors thin for a variety of reasons. It's important for the structure of your paint, but it's also important to do that so they aren't so oppressive. Like if you start painting like a dark shadow or something like that, all of a sudden it can feel too solid and heavy. It almost becomes like a black hole. And you want things to exist and give support for what is there, but to do that, it's important to keep it kind of thin. Now the shadow is darkest closest to my object, which is this lucky rabbit's foot. So I'm kind of prioritizing the edge at the moment, since that's what is darkest. And then I'm going to use a little bit of a lighter color as the shadow moves out. I mean, that's easy enough to blur with something like your fingertip or a cotton swab, but for now, I'm going to try to do what I can with a brush, but get the darkest dark in right now. You ever have any sort of question about what is your darkest dark in your painting at all? Whether it's like a given area or a certain area or the entire painting, I mean. Just squint. Like look at what you're doing, look at your source image, and then squint your eyes. And you'll immediately see what the darkest areas are and what the lightest areas are. And I typically save the darkest dark areas and the lightest light areas for the end of the painting. Right now, the shadow is its own thing. And a little bit there. Let me zoom out. Excuse me, zoom in again. So you guys can see a little bit more of what is going on. I wish that read a little bit better. So I apologize to anyone out there if it just doesn't look quite informative enough. I'm trying to find the right balance in my live stream setup so things look really good in terms of what I'm working on, but then you all can kind of see my palette, things like that. So like bounce back and forth for now. Please bear with me. If anyone has any other questions or suggestions or anything like that, obviously throw those out. Okay, this shadow, that as it expands outward, I now kind of want to hit that. And what I'm going to use is a little bit of this mixture that I had with, um, for the background, I'd mixed up last session on Tuesday, which is essentially unbleached titanium, lead white, and warm white. I added the lead white just to give it a little bit of a drier, but I'm going to use that and see where that lands in the shadow as it moves out. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, but it's I want to cool it down some. So I want to add some more Viridian to it. So you can see kind of the color I'm talking about on my palette here. Should have done this earlier, so I apologize. So Viridian is this greenish color here that I want to target and put into my shadow, and that'll kind of help give that information of the reflected light. Here we go. Someone in my last stream had asked what this painting was for or about, and I told them that I have an exhibition that opens later this month of some of my paintings. I do a lot of objects of nostalgia and kind of put things together that have a little bit of a narrative composition at times. And this next exhibition of mine, there's a lot of objects that kind of have this nostalgic vibe to them, but also this element of like vintage fortune telling and things like that. This sort of like folky magic sort of bit to them. And I remember as a child, like the idea of a lucky rabbit's foot was something that was really interesting and strange. And I remember I had one when I was a kid. You know, you get it out of the little thing at the store for a quarter or 50 cents. I forget what it was at the time. Anyway, such a very, very strange thing. So that's what this is. And anyway, I've ordered some frames for my paintings for the show. And realistically, I got better value ordering 5 frames instead of 4. And I think I'm telling you right. Anyway, I'll have 1 extra frame. And I said, you know what? I think I can do this other painting real quick, and it'll fit into the theme. And I've always wanted to work on it. So anyway, that's why I started it the other day. And I thought, oh, what fun we could do this together on our live stream. All right, I like where the shadow is right now. There's some elements of it that are maybe not right, that are bothering me a little bit, but I mainly just want to get the shape in and some, general accuracy in terms of value and certain color things. You know, I can always correct other things later with some glazes and whatever. So I need an eraser. But what we should do today before we get too far along is we need to kind of blend that in a little bit with the background. But we have a lot of this color here mixed up from our last stream. That is the this sort of background color that we used. But it's just a modifier, of course. I want to put some more highlights in the rabbit's foot, but let's move into the background for now. I might want to use that brush again for the rabbit's foot and its shadow. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm not going to use that for the background. This brush here I was going to use this for a highlight. We're just going to leave that there for now. So I'm going to grab another brush that's got a little bit more coverage to it. I can pull up my sweatshirt without making a mess. Okay, this is a number 6 Rosemary and Company filbert as well. I'm going to use this for major coverage areas of the background, but then we'll end up using other brushes as we get closer. Yeah, I think that's what I want. So anyway, dip a little bit into linseed oil. And as I've told you guys before, I like to organize my palette based on dark and light. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Got my cat back in my lap, so she's always going to make it interesting for us. So anyway, that's what I mean by organizing left and right. I mean that as well as the colors that are here placed out, but then when I'm mixing on the palette, I like to do the same as well. And then as I modify that color, I can modify it by pulling down or left and right on it, or whichever, and it's the colors in there, and I can go down and pull from it what I need. Now let me zoom in to what I'm working on so you guys can see a little bit better of what I am doing while I'm working on this area. I don't know if I like that color now that I put it on again as a second bit. I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay. We're going to scrub it in, and then while it's wet, I'm probably going to put some other things in it just to kind of give it a little bit of kind of age and interest. I want this to feel kind of like an old piece of wood, like a painted wall, something old that has some interesting character to it. What is it? Yes, ma'am. Whoa, hold on. And I don't need my reference image on this, obviously, because this is the background that I photographed the rabbit's foot on is just like a plain piece of wood. And I have that just right over here, you know, so looking at the photograph isn't any different in this case as looking at it in real life. But I just was using that as a way to get an image of the rabbit's foot from which I could work, knowing that I would be changing the background. And I want it to have some scratchiness. You know, so it adds a little modulation to the background. I don't want it to be flat, you know, where it's like I take a paint roller and just, you know, like you were going to paint a wall and just make it all consistent. I don't want that. And that's partly why I use lead white at times as well. And I use lead white in this mixture because lead white is a transparent color for the most part. A lot of beneficial reasons. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Delighted to answer anything and create a dialogue amongst us all. Also, at this stage of the painting, sometimes, you know, little brush hairs, just like bits of dried paint might emerge. And I'm always careful to get those out, because if you don't and it dries in the painting or whatever, to me it's just it can be distracting. I like the texture I like texture in a painting, but I like it to be intentional. You know, where I've like built something up and it's there. I don't want it to just be there because like a dried bit of paint fell into it. So that's what you kind of see me doing off camera there, is I'm picking up a brush hair, a little bit of something, and wiping that on a paper towel I have next to my easel. Come on, baby, get up here. Anyone else have a studio cat, or is it just me? Is it an audio had gone out? Been ended or what? The mixture I'd mixed up last session that we've been using here, surprisingly, we have kind of gone through it. So I'm going to mix up another batch of that real quick. This is another reason why I say it's a great idea to mix up a color kind of with a few colors when possible. So, you know, like if you have like 3 colors, I think it could be a good idea, maximum, because you could easily come back and target that. Let me brighten this image up. It just doesn't look right, so I'm just trying to see if I can get that better, make that a little more accurate for you guys. Okay, so like I was saying, make your mixture a little bit easier for you to target. So this mixture here that we were using, it was a mixture of Michael Harding's unbleached titanium. I usually keep this on my palette on the right hand side here with other convenience colors. Anyway, Michael Harding's unbleached titanium. Let me zoom back out so you guys see the palette. And then Michael Harding's warm white. I have warm white on my palette up here, which I could use. However, like I've told you before in other streams, one must be careful because when you're mixing up colors, I like to have all these palette knives handy because I'll like just pull from my paint and mix it down below. Anyway, sometimes when I get all excited, I don't. So my warm white there has some turquoise paint in it. Anyway, I want to put lead white in this mixture as well because it's going to give it a little transparency and some extra drying time. So this part here on the right hand side, it's white, is my lead white pile. So I'm going to use that. there might be a little yellow ochre or transparent yellow oxide in that. I can't quite remember, but if so, that's easy enough to add to give us a little interest. But this will, I know this is kind of where we started. Yeah, and clearly that's too light. Not quite right. I'm going to put some more warm white. Excuse me, more unbleached titanium. I'm going to do some yellow ochre. It does seem like it needs to be warmed up a little bit. That's pretty darn close. Just going to hit it with a little bit more of this yellow. I need to add some more to my palette. That's kind of got a lot of dried bits of paint in it, and as you know, I don't like that. And there we go. That matches our color. That's why I say, you know, make it simple a lot of times whenever you're mixing your colors. Simple as you can to target what you need. So you, it'll be easier to mix. But also, there's more of a harmony within your color as well. I've just noticed things are much more harmonious whenever you're using sort of a limited, not necessarily a limited palette, but the palette you have in front of you is what you use to mix everything in the painting from. You know, like all of a sudden if I went and I grabbed like a transparent, you know, fluorescent yellow, really would kind of mess things up on us. Okay, back to where we were. Because I don't have any fluorescent yellow anywhere here. There. Zoom back out so you guys can see again. I want my edges to be soft. Shadow edge is going to be soft, especially the further away it is from my object. But then also on the edge where the light is hitting on the rabbit's foot, that's also pretty soft because of the fur. I'm kind of going over that to blend into it a little bit. I might switch a brush here soon just to get around the areas of the ball chain. I mean, you could, in a sense, just kind of thin your paint and wash over it, but then I'd have to repaint those areas. Excuse me, and I don't want to repaint them, even though I could. I'm just gonna try to use a different brush and paint around it without looking like I paint around it. You have to be careful. I mean, it's one of those things that I might try it and say, you know what, I'm just gonna have to wash over it and then redefine the chain as I come back. Because otherwise, if we make our painting and then the audience comes and they see that everything's kind of been painted over, it's gonna look, I mean, not painted over, but painted around. It's not gonna be convincing, for one thing. And next, it's gonna look really dumb. You know, we want it to look really clean. So in doing so, I'm going to switch brushes then. That's not the right brush. I am going to use, I need something that's got a little bit of rigidness to it. It's got random paint on it. I might try it. This is a Crimson Taklon number 4 from Trakel. It's nice because the Crimson Taklon is a synthetic, and it has a little bit more of a stiffer brush hair, stiffer bristle than some other things that are kind of like a synthetic sable. So this will kind of be somewhere in between a sable and a bristle brush. All right, hold on. This medium I'm using is a great medium. I love linseed oil, but for some reason it's feeling a little too thick, a little too thick. So I'm going to switch it out. I'm going to use too thick as well. I might try this. I was using this last stream, so I might use this Ralph Meyer medium again. Yeah, that's kind of giving me a little thinner applications, what I want and what I need for this area. So again, getting up close to this ball chain. This medium has stand oil in it, which is great because stand oil does have this ability to level out brush strokes when used in the right quantities and ratio. And since I'm painting around this ball chain, that's something that could be helpful. But we're at this point where we just have to test it to see if it's going to work. If it's not, we'll just paint over the ball chain. But it seems like it's going to work. Sand oil is a wonderful medium for things like this. It's a little viscous, kind of like honey, so it can be a little tricky to work with, but that's that also like helps you whenever you are using it and you want it to level out a brush stroke and dry a certain way. Zoom in for you guys again. If the winter weather that they are predicting does hit me where I live pretty hard, then I'll I'll be able to spend a good bit of time on this painting tomorrow and this weekend easily and finish it up, hopefully. Even if it does knock out electricity where I live, which hopefully it doesn't, I still have battery packs that with these portable lights that I use sometimes in the studio that will work fine. It'll just be cold. I'm going to flip the painting back over so I can use this brush to cut in and get those other areas I need to get to. Random brush hair here. Told you I like to get out the spare bits of things whenever I see them. Sometimes the best way to do it is just use a brush and kind of poke at it and pull it out. So our stream has moved by pretty fast today, our time. So my goal at this point is to finish what we're doing in the background, and I might hit some highlights in the actual fur of the foot, and that might be as far as we can go today. Obviously, I would like to do more, but just do with my schedule is all I can get in today. I'm going to avoid my shadow at the moment. The rabbit shadow, that is. This area with the keychains shadow, it's not a big deal. It's so soft. It's also dry, because I painted that on Tuesday in our last session. But the area of the rabbit's foot, that darker shadow I painted down below, that is still wet from earlier in our session. So I want to avoid that for now. I want to put the wet paint that I'm using into that to soften it for sure. But at this stage, I'm still kind of painting in this area. So like I often tell you guys on my stream, is I like to finish a thought first in a painting when I'm working. And my thought right now is this area that I'm in. When I move down to that shadow form with the rabbit, it's dark paint, it's wet paint. I'll be able to use this brush to blend into it a little bit and also soften it, which is going to be very important. I don't want to make this brush too loaded with dark paint at this point though. That's why I'm working in this area, just kind of cutting in, getting some of these wall shapes. I mean, some of the wall color around these shapes. This is easy right now. If you have the right brush, it's easy. Let me know if anyone has any questions out there. Delighted to answer anything. The right brush and the right medium, that is. This medium that I switched to just now is really helping. Okay, cool. Now that I got that sort of roughed in, I'm going to go ahead and work on the shadow like I just mentioned. I'm going to use this same brush and observe the shape of my shadow form for now, but I'm also going to kind of brush into the shadow just a little bit in places that I need to soften. Some areas are softer than others because of their distance. No, not exactly their distance from the light. It's just the way that the light is rolling around the form. Now, how blocked is it? And it's nice because I'm hitting this area, and there's a little bit of iridium that shows up, which is nice to give us that sort of color cast light, or reflected color from that. I think I want to like play it up a little bit more, but I want to soften this mark, the shadow, and then I'll add to that. Okay, good. I like where that is. Now, what I want to do for my shadow, I'm going to use the same brush. Oh, hey, how's it going? The portrait of rolling house last night. Listen. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You can definitely get it to the fan club. That'd be awesome. I know a lot of artists, they receive, fan art from people like that, and they like put it on their social media or whatever. So like, definitely put it out there. If you have social media yourself, like take an image of it and tag them, put it in your stories and tag them, and then maybe they'll repost it, and it all comes back to you as well that way. I love Willie Nelson. Yeah, definitely make an oil painting out of it. You could come up with like there's a way that what I'll do sometimes is make a drawing, and then you can make a transfer from your drawing pretty easily onto your canvas or panel. You may be able to do that just to kind of transfer your drawing and make it a little bit easier, you could say, to get the painting started. That's something a lot of artists will do. The drawing is where you do so much of your work anyway, to establish your shapes and actual structure of things. The painting, you have those same problems, but if you have fixed those problems in the drawing, then it's not as difficult to paint with. It's kind of like what they say in painting. Sometimes they say that value does all the work and color gets all the credit. It's kind of like that, where the drawing is so important. But a lot of people are like, whoa, I like what you did with the color. The big bucks. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Hey, from, what do they say, from your mouth to God's ears? I love it. to do a series of things like that, like Willie Nelson, old outlaw country musicians, Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's put it up a couple weeks ago. It's just titled like photo, transferring your photo to oil painting, something like that. Yeah, check it out. Hopefully that's helpful. I'm gonna actually do a small series on that whole thing, because it's actually generated a lot of conversations with some people on my channel, where they've had questions. They're like, well, can't you do it this way, or whatever, and it's made me think. I'm like, you know what, I need to like revisit that thought and kind of teach it from another few angles. Like, there was someone that commented and said they're an oil painter, and so my transfer method doesn't exactly work with oil paint, which is true, which is very, very true. But I had a few other methods that I want to use for keeps getting annoyed with the camera and blurring it. But I had a few other techniques that I used when I was starting my paintings with acrylic. I used to start them that way, and so technically the oil transfer method that I use doesn't work, because you can paint oil on top of acrylic, but you cannot paint acrylic on top of oil. So anyway, rambling, but just kind of keep your eyes peeled, because I'm probably going to do like a playlist soon with a few videos that'll show different techniques, different ways to do it. Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm happy with where it is so far. It's I'm just kind of roughing a lot of things in, and hopefully, once it's dry and I do some sort of final glazing, it'll really snap together nicely. That's one thing I found out in painting sometimes, is things can become finished pretty fast. You're just kind of grinding away on something, and you're like, man, how long is this going to take? And then the next thing you know, you get towards your final stages and things just start to snap together. I did a few paintings that were commissioned paintings. A guy was writing a children's book, and he asked me to do these paintings for them, and they weren't exactly illustrations. They were like fine art paintings, and he wanted me to paint his toys from whenever he was a kid, and it was a lot of fun. So using his childhood toys to kind of illustrate the story that he had written, and it was a great project, but man, it did become a grind after a bit, and I was like, when am I going to finish these? And then, like, within a certain period of time of me being frustrated, I was like in the studio. I was like, told my wife, I was like, I think I'm going to finish these tomorrow. And then that's what happened. Careful planning. Careful planning, I'll do it. Let me hit that other side now. How's your day going, by the way? Keep getting in the way of the camera. I'm trying to figure out where I want things to go in my studio for these live streams. So it looks the best and gives you all the good quality experience. So it's fun to figure this out, but it's also a little frustrating. I thought I had it, but then all of a sudden I'm in the frame and messing up the focus point or something. Please bear with me. I'll get this right here one day soon. Nice. Glad you're having a good day. Coffee sounds pretty good. I made some tea earlier before I got in here, and I didn't finish it. It's behind me, but it's cold now. That sounds like a crazy image with your brother riding a pig. It's wild. If I get a Discord set up, you have to share a picture of that. Want to see it? I think other people would love to see it. This stick that I have. I guess that's what you mean. This is what you mean. It's a painter's tool. It's called a mahl stick. It's spelled M-A-H-L. I think it's Dutch. I think that's a Dutch word, and it essentially means painter's stick. This helps you steady your hand. A lot of artists obviously use it, and sign painters. You know, back before vinyl lettering was the way to put all the signs on things, and someone actually came along and painted vehicles or painted doors. They'd use a stick. It's a way to steady your hand. So you can buy them at an art supply store online, or you can make your own, which is what this is. It's just a piece of an oak dowel from a hardware store that I've stained, and I put a soft pad at the top, just so when I rest it on a canvas or something, it's just not like a rigid thing that can kind of leave a dent in the canvas or scratch what I'm doing. M-A-H-L. Yep, you got it. Mahl stick. I mean, it sounds like you like to draw and paint in a realistic way, like myself. And I find it's so important, because so many times you're drawing, and if you're like me, you look at the side of your hand, and you've got a smear of graphite or whatever there, and your drawing that you've been working really hard on it's got this smeared sort of area that you wanted to be really pristine. So having a tool like this really helps keep your hand out of the paint or pastel, whatever you're using. It also steadies your hand so you can make a more careful mark. If you're drawing on like a drawing table, even if it's just your kitchen table, you can use something like a yardstick or whatever. I know that they make these tools I've seen in art supply stores that they're essentially like a wide flat ruler that has like a little bumper. Yep, that's how the old masters did it. If you ever like look at a painting sometimes of Rembrandt's or even a few other artists like old masters, you might see that there's like a self-portrait of them, like painting themselves in their studio or whatever, and they'll have like a palette in their hand that they're holding, and they might even have a handful of brushes with it, and then there's a stick that's also with it that they're holding, and that's what this is. Rembrandt a lot of times did these self-portraits where he was kind of in costume, and you'll notice in his hand he's holding a maul stick. It looks kind of like a scepter in a way, so it's easy to like say, oh, I wonder what that is. And you don't think much of it, but that's what it is. Yeah. There's a great Vermeer painting that's called The Art of Painting, and the image is from the viewpoint is from the rear of the artist, so you see the artist sitting at an easel painting his model, and the artist is got a maul stick against the canvas, making marks. So anyway, that's what this is. Long story. Yeah, so use a tool like this for your drawing, then preventing it smears. Yardstick, to kind of suspend your hand. You can block it up on either end of the stick, like with some padding, so it kind of sits up a little bit off your page. So. All right, so I covered that in. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more. Let me get my fan brush. I like to use this to kind of put the brush strokes in a consistent direction, because sometimes they are going all sorts of ways, and that kind of bothers me. So this is just a way to kind of cut down on some of those marks that might be a little distracting to me. I like texture. I'm not against texture at all, but I want it to make sense. And maybe part of it, I used to work in an art gallery years ago, and you put something on the wall underneath track lighting, and if there's like something in the surface of the painting that doesn't make sense, it really stands out because of this downlight on it. So I often try to make, I'm conscious of that because I don't want something to be in my painting that I see on the wall later on. I'm like, oh God, what was that? Why didn't I see that? So I'm often like inspecting my work as I'm going to pick things off the surface and soften things. So that feels better. Except that spot, that doesn't feel better. Okay, well, I've only got a couple more minutes left. My wife will be home in a couple minutes, actually. She left work a little early. So I'm just going to, I waited to hit a few highlights on the fur of the rabbit's foot. And to use the highlights of the fur, I'm just going to use this. Let me zoom back out. I'm just going to use the color that I'd already used for the fur that I'd mixed up. And I'm going to use some of this warm white. It's Michael Harding warm white. And I'm going to use a little yellow ochre. And that's almost there. I have to add a little bit more of this cobalt turquoise color. That feels pretty good. Okay, and I'm using this brush that's a little softer than the bristle brush. This is a Rosemary and Company Legion brush. It's kind of somewhere between a bristle and a sable in terms of its coarseness. And this one that I have is like a little splayed out, so I can make a few marks the way I want them to be. Zoom that in just a touch. So I just want to hit these a little bit, the highlights, so all of this can dry. That needs to be brighter. Hold on. So this can dry a little overnight. And if I'm able to work on this tomorrow on stream or whatever the case, then this will be in a good position. I'm trying to just work on this painting on stream. And so far, I have only worked on this one on stream. The painting I did on stream over the holidays, actually it was before the holidays, there were these portraits of these cats that my wife and I have. It was her Christmas gift. That one, I think I did like one painting session, not on stream, just because she was home. And I didn't want her to know what I was doing, but the truth is she knows. She knew what I was doing. I always give her a little painting at Christmas time. She just didn't know what I was painting. So anyway, that is my plan. Hopefully the power won't go out also where I am. We're expected to get some winter weather. Hopefully the power will stay on and I can, and if I want to stream and I can, then I can do that. Otherwise, I won't have internet and all of that stuff. Hopefully everything will stay connected. We'll see. Keep getting in the way of the image, so I need to fix that. I'm gonna fix that. Even if I can't stream tomorrow or whatever, I'm gonna try to fix that so I can get a better quality video feed for you guys. Especially since the VOD stays up on the channel unless I delete it. I want it to look good. Okay, I guess I'll leave that where it is for now. All right, well, thank you, everyone, for popping by the stream. And those of you that are watching the VOD later, I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, leave anything that you may like to know in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so as well. And, oh, that's not the right one. And be sure to like the video and tell others about the channel. You know, maybe there's something helpful that some of your other artist friends may like to know. But I appreciate, it was great seeing you again. Thanks for all the questions in chat. And wherever you are, I hope that you're safe, and so are your friends and family. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now. So take care of each other and stay well. Again, thank you. Goodbye.